All right. Yes. Welcome to Third Act Thursday. So, last week we talked a little bit about the hero's journey, the three acts of the hero's journey. So, act one, the calling. People who are starting to feel unhappy, unfulfilled at their jobs, feeling like there's an unlived life inside of them. There's a movement right now in the world called the Great Resignation. People are starting to bet on themselves more than ever before. There's a lot of people getting disenchanted with the whole 9 to 5 day job routine, and they're working on their own businesses. There's a huge influx of entrepreneurs coming out of this pandemic. It's very exciting. And so, what do you think that is? Some of my clients and I have been talking about, really starting to do some work on values and principles, talking about, what the key beliefs are. And, that essentially makes up your threshold. And sort of after this threshold has been crossed and you feel like your job is no longer congruent with your principles or your key beliefs, that's where you're likely to start looking elsewhere. It's sort of like a relationship that no longer suits you. And that threshold is the second act in the hero's journey. So we talked act number one, the calling. People be starting to have this feeling of unfulfilled. Act two is the threshold, where the threshold of the key principles, key values, that has been crossed. At that point, it's the point of no return. There's been action behind it. You can't turn a blind eye to it anymore. You can't numb it out. You're acting on it. So this is where you have to do some soul searching. And so it's a period of redefining and reframing we talk about on the show a lot. And, some people define it as like an existential crisis, where you start asking yourself these very powerful questions that you've never really confronted yourself with. Like, who am I? What am I doing here? And why? I'm coming up on a year since I started, following this path, this hero's journey. I took a 6-month sabbatical away from my job last summer between April and October. And, I was following my calling, this intuition, this feeling that I had in the pit of my stomach that, this wasn't doing it for me anymore, right? My job wasn't doing it for me anymore, which was tough to say after, 21 years of doing it, right? It's a routine, and I felt I was good at it. But, I passed that threshold, and now I am having, this massive period of rebirth. And, I'm ready to go back in and do it all again. Because, ultimately the hero's journey repeats itself throughout your life, time and time again. It's cyclical, as long as you answer the calling, as long as you act with your heart and with your intuition. So, that's my call to action here on Third Act Thursday. I want you guys all to just think about your values, your principles, that threshold that we're talking about, really getting in tune with your intuition, listening to your heart, activate your greatness and step into the life that you are destined to live. And if you need help with that, I'm always here.